in Switzerland. Afterward, he made much of his espionage adventures with a sympathetic press and then equally credulous biographers dutifully repeating his beguiling tales. But in truth there was little daring involved, for a very simple reason. Dulles was more in step with many Nazi leaders than he was with President Roosevelt. Dulles not only enjoyed a professional and social familiarity with many members of the Third Reich's elite that predated the war, he shared many of these men's post-war goals. While serving in his Swiss outpost, Dulles might have been encircled by Nazi forces, but he was also surrounded by old friends. After crossing the border, Dulles wasted no time in settling into Bern, the scenic Swiss capital where he had begun his espionage career a quarter-century earlier as a junior member of the U.S. legation during World War I. The medieval city, built on cliffs overlooking the glacial green Ahr River as it flowed down from the white-capped alpine peaks on the horizon, held a treasure of memories. During the earlier war, there had been embassy parties and rounds of tennis, with balls arriving in diplomatic pouches from back home, courtesy of his brother Foster. There was an international parade of mistresses, young secretaries from the consulates that filled the city's diplomatic quarter, as well as free-spirited women from the local art colony. He met his conquests for drinks and pleasure at the Bellevue Palace Hotel, the elegant Art Nouveau fortress that dominated the old city's skyline. Dulles affected the look of a dashing Continental cavalry officer in those days, with a waxed moustache, slim waist jacket, and high starched collar. One of his affairs during the First World War had a brutal ending. She was a young Czech patriot who worked alongside Dulles in the U.S. legation offices. British agents concluded that she was using her position to pass information to exiled Czech leader Jan Masaryk as well as to the Germans. When the British confronted Dulles with their suspicions, the ambitious young diplomat knew he was in an awkward spot, and he quickly complied with their plans. One night Dulles took the woman to dinner, and afterward he strolled with her along the cobblestone streets to an agreed-upon location where he handed her over to 2 British agents. She disappeared forever. When Dulles returned to Bern in 1942 for the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, America's World War II spy agency, he set up his base of operations in his residence, the ground-floor apartment of a handsomely renovated 14th-century mansion at 23 Herrengasse, near the city's majestic cathedral. Dulles later insisted that he had carefully chosen the location with security in mind, since the street ended in a cul-de-sac. He prevailed upon municipal authorities to extinguish the lamplight outside his building, giving late-night visitors a measure of anonymity as they slipped in and out. Guests seeking more confidentiality could enter Dulles's apartment from the rear, climbing an ancient flight of stone steps that rose steeply to his back terrace from the grape arbors and dark river below. But all this cloak and dagger was a bit of a charade. As soon as Dulles showed up in Bern, his arrival was reported in one of Switzerland's leading newspapers, which announced him, to the spy's great delight, as the personal representative of President Roosevelt. This afforded Dulles a status that would be very useful as he pursued his various intrigues. After arriving at 23 Herrengasse with such great fanfare, Dulles found himself under intense scrutiny. Although the newly arrived American spy had enjoyed long friendships with many in the enemy camp, each side trusted the other only up to a point. From across the street, Nazi agents kept close watch on the Dulles residence 24 hours a day. The Germans also infiltrated his staff. His cook turned out to be a spy, and his janitor stole carbon copies of his documents out of his trash. Meanwhile, Swiss intelligence agents, who worked closely with their Nazi counterparts, eavesdropped on Dulles's phone conversations. There was little that was secret about the American spy's life in Bern. None of this seemed to disturb Dulles.